Hi, friends, and welcome to Pieces Here. I'm your host, Avis Kalfsbeek. Today, we're pausing for a special recap episode in our Wolff Peace series, a journey through Robert Paul Wolff's 1966 anthology, Political Man and Social Man. This extra episode reflects on the second part of Wolff's exploration of the individual and the state, focusing on the limits of political authority. If part one introduced us to why authority exists, part two asked a deeper question. When should we obey? When should we resist? And what does loyalty really mean in a world that often demands it without question? Wolff frames this section with a powerful statement. The duty to obey is the converse of the right to command. In other words, loyalty is not neutral. It is always connected to power and the moral weight of whether that power is legitimate. Let's revisit the voices we heard in this section. The thinkers. Plato, in Crito, introduced us to Socrates' famous decision to accept death rather than betray his social contract with Athens. Henry David Thoreau, in Civil Disobedience, took the opposite stance. He refused to pay taxes to a government that supported slavery and war, defending the right of individual conscience above all. John Shar explored loyalty as a core part of human identity, not whether we should be loyal, but to whom and why. Felix Frankfurter and Robert Jackson, both U.S. Supreme Court justices, gave us two conflicting rulings in the famous flag salute cases, one defending state power, Minersville versus Gobitis, and the other defending personal liberty, Barnett. Jean Lemure, in a case study of resistance, went to jail rather than serve in the brutal Algerian War, choosing conscience over country. And finally, Robert Paul Wolff himself closed the section with an original essay examining the tangle of loyalty, authority, and freedom. Together, these thinkers pushed us to examine not just law or government, but the deeply personal terrain of obedience, dissent, and responsibility. The peace pairings. To balance and deepen those ideas, we turned to the peace warriors. Aung San Suu Kyi, who spent decades under house arrest for advocating democracy in Myanmar. Greta Thunberg, whose civil disobedience at 15 sparked a global climate movement. Sophie Scholl, who defied the Nazi regime with handwritten leaflets and was executed at 21. Sari Nusseibeh, the Palestinian philosopher who challenged both Israeli occupation and extremist narratives. Desmond Tutu, who spoke truth to power during apartheid and called for justice without vengeance. The village of Le Chambon, which protected thousands of Jews during World War II through collective, quiet resistance. And Pauline Murray, legal scholar, civil rights activist, and spiritual trailblazer who understood the intersection of race, gender, and the law before most others did. In a time when loyalty is weaponized, from political parties to social media factions, this section of Wolff's book reminds us that real loyalty must be earned. It's easy to obey, it's harder to think. Your peace questions to ponder. Big picture, what does loyalty mean to you, and how do you decide who or what deserves it? Day-to-day life, when do you find yourself following rules out of habit or fear? Can you pause and ask, is this alignment or just obedience? That concludes this episode of Pieces Here. You can learn more at aviskalfsbeek.com, where I share updates on this podcast and my books. I write best friend activist short fiction in the Peter the Water Dog Saves the Planet 6-book series, eco-adventure novellas for readers who care about justice, joy, and saving the world one story at a time. Coming up next, more thinkers, more peace pairings, and more bold questions from the Wolff Peace series. This episode is human narrated by me, but created with the help of AI, which has promised to let me know if it makes something up. So far, no confessions. But if you believe I've missed something, or if you just want to say hello, I'd love to hear from you. Podcast music is Dalai Lama Riding a Bike by Javier Peque Rodriguez. You'll find links to his music on Spotify and Bandcamp in the show notes. If you enjoyed this podcast, it really helps me if you subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. A quick rating or review helps others discover peaceful, independent storytelling. And if you have a project that can use a calm, peaceful narrator, my cloned voice, Amaya Calm, is now available in the 11 Labs voice library. AMAYA Calm. The voice is designed to support storytelling that promotes peace and dignity. You can even have Amaya Calm read to you using the 11 Labs Reader app. She sounds like this. Peace is not something you wish for. It's something you make, something you do, something you are, and something you give away. John Lennon. If you haven't used 11 Labs yet, it helps me if you use the link in the show notes below. The link is try.11labs.io/peace, and 11 Labs is spelled out. I'll earn a small affiliate payment which supports my creative projects focused on peace. I'm Avis Kalfsbeek. Thank you again. Until next time, listen for the peace.